Since we've established that sensory evaluation fails with heavily processed foods and that you can't always trust manufacturer safety systems, let's talk about what testing options are actually available to regular consumers. This isn't about becoming a paranoid food scientist in your own kitchen, but about understanding what tools exist for the times when verification matters. The most accessible testing is pH testing using simple pH strips, which you can buy cheaply at pharmacies or online. Why does this matter? Because pH is the critical factor determining whether low-acid foods can support Clostridium botulinum growth. Any food with pH above 4.6 requires pressure canning or other serious preservation methods. Testing your home canned goods, especially if you're trying new recipes or modified recipes, is genuinely important. It's also useful for verifying commercial products if you have concerns. A jar of supposedly acidified vegetables that tests above pH 4.6 is a botulism risk. Temperature monitoring is simple but crucial. A reliable thermometer for your refrigerator and freezer tells you whether your cold storage is actually working. Your refrigerator should be at or below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, your freezer at 0 degrees Fahrenheit or below. When you bring frozen foods home, especially in hot weather, check their temperature. Partially thawed products have been temperature abused and shouldn't be refrozen. There are also inexpensive infrared thermometers that let you check food surface temperatures without contact. The home testing market has expanded significantly in recent years. You can now buy relatively affordable test kits for specific contaminants. There are rapid bacteria tests, though most detect indicator organisms rather than specific pathogens. Heavy metal tests exist for water and can sometimes be adapted for foods. Authenticity tests can verify that your expensive olive oil isn't mostly soybean oil, or that your honey hasn't been diluted with corn syrup. But let's be honest about limitations. Home testing cannot replace professional laboratory analysis for serious contamination concerns. The tests have sensitivity limits. They can give false negatives, showing clean when there's actually a problem, or false positives, showing contamination when things are fine. User error is common. Results can be difficult to interpret without training. Professional laboratory testing is available to consumers, but it's expensive. If you're suspicious about a specific product, particularly if you've purchased a large quantity, sending samples to a certified food testing lab can be worthwhile. They can test for specific pathogens, chemical contaminants, heavy metals, and authenticity markers. Expect to pay anywhere from $50 to several $100, depending on what testing you request. Here's a practical tiered approach. For everyday situations, use free or cheap methods. Check package integrity carefully when you buy products. Monitor storage temperatures religiously. Smell foods when you open them, even if they're canned or processed. These basic checks catch most problems. For moderate risk situations, like home canning of low-acid foods or purchasing from unfamiliar sources, invest in pH testing and perhaps basic bacteria tests. For high-value purchases or when you're feeding vulnerable individuals, consider professional testing. There's a cost-benefit calculation to make. Testing a $5 can of food with a $50 lab test makes no sense. Testing a 100-pound bulk purchase of something you'll feed your family for months might make perfect sense. Testing your home canned goods that you'll feed to your pregnant daughter or immunocompromised parent is probably wise. The growing consumer testing market reflects both increased health consciousness and decreased trust in institutional safety systems. Companies are responding to demand for verification tools. Some are legitimate operations providing useful services. Others are selling expensive tests of questionable value. Do your research before purchasing testing services. What I hope you take from this is that you're not completely powerless. Testing exists. It's not perfect. It's not always affordable, but it exists. The mere fact that you're willing to test can also influence your purchasing behavior in positive ways. When you know you might test something, you become more selective about what you buy in the first place.